Hello and welcome to another episode of the Dad Strength Podcast. Today is going to be what is known as a bonus episode. Just like we did before whenever we switched days of the week, this podcast is launching on Wednesday. We are going to be launching into our video podcast. And what that means is you're going to have a video that breaks down some parenting tools. We're going to add, I've been in the process of adding voting on the site. So it's more of an interactive for you listeners. You can go ahead and make comments on the page, I believe. If not, I'll have to look into that. But we're going to go ahead and rank the most essential items needed for parenting. And I'm going to have a video that shows you each item. So if you're unfamiliar, it will work twofold. It will experience you as a parent to different objects needed for parenting, and it's going to give people a chance to vote on what you think is actually needed or necessary. So on the page, I'm using ranker.com. They're embedding a list, so you don't even have to visit our site if you need to or want to. We might have outside listeners. It's a good way to kind of cross-promote their site and our site. Using their embed, you can vote objects up or down. And if you come back later and change your mind, you can also revote. I think I have that enabled. So I'm probably going to go ahead and start to enable voting on certain objects. And with that, I'm going to go ahead then and add videos. Videos are still going to come once a week. So whenever you're listening, you can go ahead. There'll be a new video. Each video will be centered on one parenting object. Could be a child's toy, could be something that only the parent uses, could be something that might be rare. So at first it's probably going to be common items, and then we're going to go ahead and expand into other areas. So it's a new exciting format. I hope everyone likes it. Please spread the word. It will help get the word out. We're still using SoundCloud. They still have the limited time frames. And then what I'm going to do is on the video, there'll be two ways to watch or listen. Our channel is on YouTube. It's been approved. That's all set up. So you can go ahead and get the meat of the argument on YouTube. The videos will probably be a little bit shorter than the actual podcast. And so if you still like listening to the podcast in this format, keep up, because I'm going to have extra content on the podcast part. So the videos aren't going to be 15 minutes. They'll probably be 5 or so, maybe a little bit longer. It depends once I get going. Sometimes I'll go longer. It depends on the object and how much information I have to talk about. On the other hand then, once the video's done, they'll launch the same day. So no matter which you choose, or if you want to watch both, what I'll do is the beginning of the podcast will have different information, and then I'll probably show the audio from the podcast video at the end of the podcast, just so that if you don't want to watch the YouTube video, you can go ahead and still listen to what I'm telling you about. It just might be a little bit tougher, and we'll see, because I'm either going to try to do that, but if they don't make sense because you can't see what I'm talking about, then I'll probably just cut it and have the podcast have separate details and a little bit more description. And so it depends. I'm probably going to feel it out the first couple videos, so bear with me. If you have any feedback or suggestions, please let me know, because I'm trying to make an interactive parenting tool, sort of like a community. And I know I don't have a Facebook group or anything, so if anyone wants to set one up and get one going, feel free to do that. Add me. I can help be an administrator. We can get that rolling. I have one for the Southbound Sports site that we broke off, because most of the input I have right now from friends is on the sports side of things. But if you want to go ahead and get one rolling for parenting, let me know, because I would be down for helping out with that. I think I have a collection started on Google Plus just for now to go ahead and dump some ideas. So if you're on Google, I think it might be part of their new Google Spaces, is how I feel like they're going to go ahead and break that off. But that would probably be my other option there, maybe a subreddit or a Facebook page. So reach out, let me know. and that's the direction we're going to be going. So this is just a little bonus podcast episode to let you know that we're going to be switching on later this week. I'm not sure which day I'm going to launch. Keep your eye out. It will either be Thursday or Friday, and then whatever day we decide, or I decide, that's going to be the day that the podcast is going to continually come out. We also redid the site, so hopefully you like that, to make it a little bit easier to navigate. Since it's not a subsite of sociallynumb.com anymore, it has its own domain. We are now at dadstrength.us, so look that up. And we have it broken down. We have an about page, which is still under construction from the move. And we have each podcast episode now is its own post. So you can go, make comments, see things. If I talk about different objects, I might have links to them. And I'll have new comments. We moved over to Facebook comments, so that's something new for the site. So that's a cool move, something that I'm excited about. And if you notice that the new episode didn't drop on time, it's because with the domain move, we are also moving the podcast feed itself. And so we're moving it to a centralized location, and it might take a day or two for the sites to actually update the feed. So with that, the only downside to that is going to be if you don't hear or see the latest podcast show up in your feed, that's going to be maybe a day later or so. So check that out. Keep me posted if you have any questions or any suggestions, and that will be the new format. We do have a video coming up this week. It's not actually in the voting format. It's just a dad strength video, which I might have some more of just separately going up. But just to test the formatting of using a podcast to lead into a video, we're going to go ahead and start this one off and get the videos up on YouTube. I still think, now depending on how we do it, I do have the audio-only podcast videos on YouTube, just as a secondary host to back up some of the audio if I ever need it again, or if like the podcast feed goes down or something, I have a way to get the audio back. But I do have... I'm either going to go ahead and add the extra content up as the audio feed on YouTube, so it would be a little bit shorter. It won't be the full podcast, and then it would link to the video, or I'm not sure how I'm going to handle that yet in the future, but I would like to keep both going up so that if you listen to the podcast on YouTube, it's going to be a continuation, but I don't know. I'm not familiar enough with the settings yet on YouTube to see if I can link videos like that. I know I can make a playlist, so maybe I'll just do that. Have one long audio playlist where it's just the intros that I record, put them up, and then the actual video, because I probably don't want to do the whole audio, because then that way if you're listening, I don't want redundant content on either platform. And then that's going to go ahead and go to SoundCloud too. I thought about maybe just throwing up the audio from the videos on SoundCloud, but then you'll miss the initial argument. But if I do it that way, then I can hold more posts or more content. But like I said, if anyone wants to go ahead and donate a subscription to SoundCloud, I can go ahead and get all of our posts up. But we'll see. That's not something that is one of my main concerns right now. So thanks for listening. You can check this out. And hopefully you like the expanded format. I'm still trying to grow. Hopefully I'm making it better. So if you like what you hear, like what you see, please give me some content, and please go vote. Tell your friends, even if your friends don't listen to the podcast or listen to the video, have them go vote, because then that way we'll have a more appropriate list, because I want a list that even if a parent stumbles upon it on Ranker.com, or if someone shares the list somewhere else, because you can share it on Ranker and they don't even see the site or this podcast, we're trying to make a list for parents. The list is going to be a living, breathing list, because each week I'm going to add a new item to the list. So it's something that's going to stay up to date, and you can always go back and vote for other objects, but we'll see what happens. So thank you for listening. You've been listening to Dad Strength, and come back for some new exciting content. Thank you. I'm your host, Richie Leahy.